5 power plays to beat an avoidance mind games and shatter their ego. There's a quiet strength in someone who refuses to play the avoidance game, not because they don't care, but because they care enough about themselves to stop participating in a cycle that only brings confusion and pain. When dealing with someone who uses avoidant attachment as a defense mechanism, you don't need emotional outbursts, desperate pleas, or endless patience. What you need is something far more powerful: clarity, self-respect, and the courage to honor your own worth. 5 power plays to break free from an avoidance mind games and reclaim your peace. The first power play is strategic emotional withdrawal. Not as revenge, but as self-preservation. The avoidant is used to being the one who pulls back, who creates distance, who decides when conversations happen. They're comfortable being chased, being the prize, being the one who cares less. But when you flip the script and withdraw first, something shifts inside them. You don't announce it. You don't make it dramatic. You simply start matching their energy, but with intention. When they take 3 days to text back, you take 4. Not to punish them, but because you're genuinely investing that time in yourself. When they cancel plans last minute, you're suddenly unavailable for the next 2 weeks because your life is actually full now. This completely breaks their mental framework because avoidants operate on the assumption that they control the emotional thermostat of the relationship. When you start adjusting that temperature yourself, their ego goes into panic mode. Suddenly, they're the ones checking their phone, wondering why you haven't reached out. The very anxiety they usually trigger in others starts eating at them. Here's what makes this different from playing games. You're not doing this to manipulate them. You're doing it because you realize that matching someone's inconsistency while losing yourself in the process isn't love. It's self-abandonment. The avoidance ego thrives on being needed while not needing anyone. But when you show them through your actions that you're no longer available for breadcrumbs, something in their carefully constructed world begins to crack. The second power play is calling out their patterns with compassion, not judgment. Avoidants are predictable once you understand their blueprint. They follow cycles: getting close, pulling away, creating drama, disappearing, coming back like nothing happened. But what if, instead of reacting with confusion or hurt, you simply name what you see? When things are going well and you gently say, "I notice you tend to create distance when we get closer. I understand that feels safer for you." Or when they start picking fights over nothing, you calmly observe, "It seems like you're looking for a reason to pull back." You don't need one. You can just tell me you need space. This destroys their ego on multiple levels, but not through cruelty, through truth. First, it shows them they're not as mysterious as they think. Their behavior has patterns, and someone has taken the time to understand them without judgment. Second, it removes the power of their actions. When you predict what they're going to do with kindness rather than accusation, they're faced with a mirror they can't look away from. The avoidance mind games rely on keeping you confused, reactive, always guessing. But when you demonstrate that you've studied their blueprint not to trap them, but to protect yourself, something profound happens. You're no longer participating in the chaos. You're standing outside of it, offering them a choice: evolve or watch someone who truly saw them walk away. The third power play is becoming emotionally bulletproof to their hot and cold behavior. Not by building walls, but by building self-worth. Avoidants expect you to ride their emotional roller coaster. When they're warm, they expect you to desperately grab onto those moments. When they're cold, they expect you to panic, question yourself, and try harder. But what if you just stopped giving their inconsistency the power to define your emotional state? When they love bomb you after a week of silence, you respond with the same steady energy you had yesterday. When they suddenly go distant after a beautiful weekend together, you continue with your life as if nothing changed. Not because you don't care, but because you've learned that their behavior is about their wounds, not your worth. This steadiness isn't coldness, it's clarity. And it drives their ego insane because their entire sense of power comes from causing emotional reactions. They measure their importance by how much they can affect your mood. When you stop giving them that power, they start questioning everything about themselves. The truth that shatters them isn't that you don't care. It's that you care about them, but you care about yourself more. You've learned to surf above their waves instead of drowning in them. You treat their inconsistency like weather. Sometimes it's sunny, sometimes it's not, but you don't let it dictate your entire emotional climate. That kind of unshakable self-respect is something the avoidant has never encountered before, and it terrifies them because it exposes how fragile their control really was. The fourth power play is building a life so rich and full that they feel the loss before it even happens. Avoidants often believe they're the prize in a relationship. They think you need them more than they need you. So you prove them wrong, not through words or arguments, but through the life you build without waiting for them to show up. You start investing in yourself with genuine intention. New hobbies that light you up, friendships that nourish you, goals that have nothing to do with them. When they text, you sometimes take hours to respond, not as a game, but because you're genuinely engaged in your own life. When they want to see you, sometimes you're not available because your calendar is actually full with things that matter to you. This isn't about revenge or making them jealous. It's about remembering who you were before you started shrinking yourself to fit their emotional unavailability. The avoidance ego is built on the belief that people will always wait for them, that they can disappear and return to find everything exactly as they left it. But when they see you thriving, evolving, becoming someone even more radiant without their validation, something shifts in them. They start to feel the ghost of future regret. They watch you becoming someone who won't always be available for their return. And when they try to pull you back with their usual tactics, sudden attention, manufactured urgency, jealousy triggers, you don't take the bait. Not because you're playing hard to get, but because you've genuinely outgrown the need for their inconsistent affection. The fifth and most devastating power play is a genuine goodbye with no door left open, done with peace, not punishment. Nothing shatters an avoidance ego more completely than when you end things on your terms, not in anger or desperation, but in profound clarity. You don't do it after a fight when emotions are high and they can dismiss it as reactive. You do it during a calm moment when they least expect it, with a calm that can only come from someone who has done the inner work. You lay out exactly what you've observed, not to hurt them, but to honor the truth. I see your need for distance, and I respect it. I also see my need for consistency and emotional presence, and I'm choosing that now. You don't give ultimatums. You don't wait for them to change. You simply inform them of your decision, and follow through with quiet dignity. This destroys their ego because avoidants are used to being the ones who leave. Even when others end things, they usually leave emotional doors open, hope for reconciliation, possibilities for return. But when you close that door completely, with peace instead of pain, with compassion instead of bitterness, they're left facing something they've never had to confront, the consequences of their own patterns without a safety net to catch them. They lost someone who saw them completely, saw the fear, the wounds, the defense mechanisms, and still offered love, not because they weren't worthy, but because their behavior made authentic connection impossible. The ego can't rewrite the story. They can't paint themselves as the victim or the one who cared less. They're simply the one who played games until someone who understood them deeply chose to stop playing. In the end, breaking free from avoidance mind games isn't about becoming manipulative or cold. It's about becoming so rooted in your own worth that their inconsistency can't shake you. You don't shatter their ego through cruelty. You shatter it by embodying truth, consistency, and the courage to walk away from what no longer serves your highest good. If you're someone dealing with this pattern, remember, your power isn't in winning their game. It's in refusing to play while still honoring the love you felt. You don't have to become harsh to protect yourself. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is see the situation clearly, honor both their wounds and your needs, and then choose yourself with grace. The game is over when you decide it is. And that decision, that moment when you choose your peace over someone's emotional unavailability, that's when you don't just beat their game, you transcend it entirely. And in doing so, you give them a gift they may not recognize until much later, a mirror that shows them what real love looks like and what it costs to push it away.